Starting things off with the ultimate friendship ender, Monopoly One is a surprisingly clean port of the board game that doesn't need a single ounce of GPU power to run. Back in '95, Westwood Studios took the classic Parker Brothers formula and added 3D animations and a jazzy 18-track soundtrack that still slaps. It's perfect for a low-spec laptop because it's entirely turn-based and runs at a crisp 640 by 480 resolution. You can play against the AI if you're lonely, or hop into a hot seat session with friends who don't mind a bit of retro frustration. The interface is simple, the rules are customizable, and honestly, seeing the 3D tokens move across the board still has a certain nostalgic charm. It's not going to push your hardware, but it'll definitely push your blood pressure when you land on Boardwalk with a hotel. It's a solid, lightweight way to kill an afternoon without worrying about frame rates. SimTown is the cozy, no-thoughts, head-empty alternative that your Intel HD graphics will love. It was designed for a younger audience, but in 2026, it's basically the ultimate lo-fi city builder for when you just want to manage a tiny, happy village. You get to build houses, schools, and bike paths while keeping an eye on resources like water and trees that actually regrow over time. One of the coolest parts is being able to lift the roofs off buildings to see what the citizens are doing inside. It's incredibly lightweight, taking up almost no space, and the cartoonish art style aged much better than some of its realistic peers. You can even create your own designer characters to live in your town, giving it a personal touch. Just remember to set your compatibility mode to Windows 98 or XP, or your modern OS might get confused. It's a peaceful, low-stress experience that proves you don't need ray tracing to have a good time. Before there was Forza, there was Screamer, an arcade racer that is all about pure pedal-to-the-metal speed. This game was built for the era of velocity-driven fun, and it really shows in the winding 3D tracks and the way the screen blurs as you hit top speeds. You've got a lineup of classic-inspired cars like Porsches and Corvettes, and the drift-heavy physics make every turn feel like a high-stakes gamble. Since it's a DOS-based title running through DOSBox, it'll run on literally any PC from the last 20 years without breaking a sweat. The graphics are chunky and pixelated in that beautiful 90s way, but the sense of speed is still remarkably effective today. You can tackle a full championship, or just burn some rubber in time trials if you've only got 5 minutes. It's a great reminder of a time when racing games didn't need 100 gigabytes of storage to be fun. If you want that classic arcade itch scratched, this is the one. For the dark fantasy fans out there, Witchaven is a first-person slasher that uses the legendary build engine, the same tech behind Duke Nukem 3D. Instead of just shooting guns, you're swinging battle axes, morning stars, and halberds at demonic minions in a quest to stop an evil witch. What makes this special is the light RPG system, where you actually level up and gain strength as you rack up kills. You also get access to some pretty wild spells like Nuke and Fireball that feel incredibly satisfying to unleash on a crowd of enemies. The Island of Char is a grim, atmospheric setting that really pushes that dark fantasy vibe to the limit. It can be a bit clunky compared to modern brawlers, but the sheer variety of weapons and scrolls keeps things fresh. The repack versions even fix some of the original level bugs, making it smoother than ever. It's a bloody, retro good time that runs perfectly on 2 gigabytes of RAM. Fury 3 is essentially the Windows version of Terminal Velocity, and it is a masterclass in fast-paced 3D flight combat. You're piloting a super fighter across alien planets, dodging ground fire and dogfighting biomes, and we're hell-bent on destroying humanity. The movement is incredibly fluid for a game from the mid-90s, allowing you to dive into tunnels and weave through structures at breakneck speeds. Interestingly, you actually get penalized for shooting the greenery, so you have to be somewhat precise while you're raining down destruction. It doesn't require a 3D accelerator, which is fancy talk for it will run on your integrated graphics without a hiccup. The game even includes the F1 Zone expansion, adding tons of extra levels and a level editor for the truly dedicated. It's pure, unadulterated 90s action that feels like a playable version of a sci-fi blockbuster. Earthworm Jim is a fever dream of a platformer that remains one of the most creative games ever made. You play as a literal worm in a supersuit, using your own head as a whip or a helicopter rotor to navigate bizarre, surreal levels. The animation is top tier, even by today's standards, with a hand-drawn look that oozes personality and humor. Between the standard platforming, you'll find yourself in space races against sci-cryo or weird bungee jumping competitions. It's notoriously difficult, but the satisfaction of whipping a boss into oblivion is hard to beat. The Special Edition repack works great on modern systems, though you might need to tweak some DOSBox settings for the best sound. It's a quirky, challenging, and visually stunning piece of gaming history that everyone should try at least once. Just be prepared to die a lot and laugh while you're doing it. If you prefer your racing with a side of total vehicular carnage, Destruction Derby is the gold standard for low-end PC chaos. Unlike traditional racers, you actually get points for how spectacularly you can wreck your opponents. The damage modeling was revolutionary for its time. A frontal collision can blow your radiator and end your race instantly, so you have to be strategic about how you ram people. The bowl arena is where the real fun happens, as dozens of cars smash into each other until only one is left standing. It's fast, loud, and incredibly satisfying to watch a rival's car crumple under your bumper. It's running through DOSBox and only needs about 8 megabytes of RAM, making it the ultimate no GPU combat game. The physics feel surprisingly heavy and impactful, which keeps the gameplay loop addictive. It's the perfect game for blowing off some steam after a long day. Mega Man X is widely considered one of the most perfect action platformers ever created, and the PC port is a fantastic way to experience it. Set 100 years after the original series, you play as X, a robot with free will who must hunt down mavericks to save humanity. The gameplay loop of defeating a boss, stealing their power, and using it against another boss is as addictive now as it was in 1993. The movement is incredibly crisp, with the wall slide and dash mechanics making you feel like a total badass. The PC version even features improved MIDI music that sounds great on modern speakers. It's a masterclass in level design, teaching you how to play without ever using a tutorial. Plus, the file size is tiny, literally 5 megabytes, so you can download it in seconds on a 2026 internet connection. It's a timeless masterpiece that runs perfectly on anything from a high-end rig to a smart fridge. Wipeout is the game that made cool, futuristic racing a reality, featuring a high-octane blend of anti-gravity speed and combat. Set in 2052, you pilot hovercraft through twisting tracks at speeds that feel genuinely dangerous. The aesthetic is heavily inspired by 90s club culture, with a sleek UI and an iconic electronic soundtrack that still gets the heart racing. You've got weapon pickups like mines and rockets to slow down your rivals, adding a layer of combat strategy to the racing. The Phantom Edition custom engine included in modern repacks makes this run flawlessly on 64-bit systems with updated music options. It's a sensory overload of neon lights and high-speed turns that feels remarkably modern despite its age. If you want to feel like you're racing in a sci-fi movie, this is the definitive experience. It's stylish, fast, and incredibly optimized for low-spec hardware. Full Throttle is a cinematic masterpiece from LucasArts that proves you don't need 4K textures to tell an amazing story. You play as Ben, the leader of a biker gang called the Pole Gats, who gets framed for murder and has to clear his name. The art style is beautiful hand-drawn animation that looks like a high-end cartoon, and the voice acting is some of the best in gaming history. While it's primarily a puzzle adventure game, it also features some fun combat sequences where you fight other bikers on the road. The writing is witty, the world is gritty and immersive, and the puzzles are actually logical rather than frustrating. It's running through Scum VM, meaning it's compatible with basically every operating system ever made. It's a short, punchy experience that focuses on quality over quantity, and it's one of the best adventure games ever made. If you love a good story and a tough guy aesthetic, you need this in your library. Worms is the ultimate
Worms is the ultimate turn-based strategy game that has survived for decades because its core loop is simply perfect. You control a squad of tiny, heavily armed worms and take turns trying to blast the other team off a destructible 2D map. Whether you're using a standard bazooka, a cluster bomb, or the iconic fire punch, the physics-based chaos is always hilarious. The game is easy to learn but hard to master, especially when you start accounting for wind speeds and the fact that a falling worm can trigger a chain reaction of explosions. The randomly generated terrain means no two matches are ever the same, and the local multiplayer is still some of the most fun you can have on one PC. It's incredibly lightweight, runs on a literal potato, and offers infinite replayability. It's the kind of game you can play for 10 minutes or 10 hours and still have a blast. It's a certified classic for a reason. At the top of our list is WarCraft 2, the game that essentially defined the modern real-time strategy genre. It took the orcs versus humans conflict from the first game and expanded it with naval combat, flying units, and a much more complex resource system. The 640 by 480 SVGA graphics were a massive leap forward at the time, and they still look incredibly clean and readable today. The campaign is epic, with a great story told through mission briefings and cinematic cutscenes that were mind-blowing in the mid-90s. The Beyond the Dark Portal expansion is usually included, giving you even more content to chew through. It's the game that paved the way for StarCraft and WoW, and playing it in 2026 feels like visiting the roots of a dynasty. It's highly addictive, perfectly balanced, and runs like a dream on any low-end setup. If you only play one retro game from this list, make it this one. It's the king of RTS for a reason.